What is up, my beautiful gemstones? Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, thanks for checking us out. My name is Gemma Jade, but today we are going to be discussing the bizarre and strange disappearance of Connie Smith. As many of you know, I love nothing more than to cover the terrifying, weird, strange, bizarre, and unexplained here on my channel, and for the most part, I also do that while covering the paranormal. However, as many of you also know, if you've been with me for any length of time, I love a good true crime case as well. With as much research as I've done for this channel and for my books into strange happenings and terrifying creatures and entities in the woods and who lurk around us at all times, with most of us never even knowing they're there, I can't help but think that some of the cases I come across of people who have seemingly disappeared into thin air could be connected to some sort of otherworldly or paranormal phenomena. But that's not always the case. Sometimes people go missing and there really doesn't seem to be any explanation as to what could have become of them, where they ended up, and even thinking along paranormal lines doesn't bring me any closer to those answers. The case of the disappearance of Connie Smith is one such case. Please let me know your theories and what you think about all of this in the comments below after watching the video. With all of that being said, let's jump right into this insanely strange case. Also, it is a beautiful day here in New Jersey, and I have my windows open. So if you hear any background noise, that's what it is. I apologize, but it's just so gorgeous. I do not want to close the windows. In the summer of 1952, Connie Christine Smith was only 10 years old, and she lived in Sundance, Wyoming in the United States. Connie was especially excited that summer because she would be leaving home and attending a summer camp called Camp Sloan all the way in Salisbury, Connecticut. This would be her first time ever staying away from home for a night, let alone for a few weeks in the summer, and her friends and family said she talks excitedly nonstop about going in the weeks and days leading up to her departure. She was incredibly excited, and she could not wait to go to this camp. Once she finally got there, Connie was able almost immediately to step out of her shell and make some new friends. She was typically normally shy, but she did decide to throw caution to the wind in order to befriend the other girls her age who were there at the camp with her that summer. As far as I can tell, Connie arrived at the camp in the end of June or the very beginning of July, and I did look for exact dates, but it was like impossible for me to find them. Either way, the entire time she was there, from day one, she'd been writing to her parents and telling them what an amazing, wonderful, fabulous time she was having. Later on, when interviewed, the other kids and counselors at the camp talked about how Connie seemed to be getting along very well with everyone, and she was really enjoying herself from the moment she'd gotten there. This is why it was especially strange when on July 16th, she walked out of the camp and seemingly right off the face of the earth. On the morning of July 16th, Connie told her tent mates that she wasn't going to attend breakfast and that she would instead be returning an ice pack to the camp's infirmary. While roughhousing with some of the other campers just playing around the day before, Connie had accidentally gotten a busted lip and her nose had started bleeding. She told her friends that after she returned the pack, she would be back, and despite her injured nose, they all said she'd been her normally bubbly, happy-go-lucky self and in good spirits. She also made no mention of going anywhere else and only mentioned the infirmary specifically, so there was no reason for anyone to think she would be gone for very long or that she wouldn't ever come back. Connie dressed in a bright red windbreaker jacket and blue shorts and skipped off in the direction of the infirmary. However, she would never arrive there, and the next time anyone saw her, she'd be walking towards Indian Mountain Road. According to the witness, who was one of the counselors from the camp, and according to other witnesses, Connie had been picking daisies in that area. The last confirmed sighting of Connie Smith came from the daughter of a private homeowner in the area where she'd last been spotted picking the flowers. This girl said that Connie had knocked on her door with tears in her eyes and asked her how to get home to Lakewood, Connecticut. The annoying and very frustrating thing is that there's no information at all about this conversation except what I just told you, meaning I don't know how the young girl who answered the door responded or what happened next, but this would be the last time anyone ever saw Connie Smith. Once the counselors and all of the other campers noticed she was missing, they all started looking for her and asking questions amongst themselves. Sure enough, they found that she'd left the ice pack in her tent along with all of her money and her other belongings. Essentially, she had nothing with her when she disappeared except for the clothes on her back. Also, this shows she hadn't actually planned on going to return the ice pack in the first place, because although she walked off towards the infirmary, she'd left the pack behind along with the rest of her stuff. The only thing that was missing was a small black zippered purse, and the only thing she was known to keep in that purse were pictures of her family and friends. So she took the photos, but not her money. Weird. The entire camp and surrounding areas were searched, and her name was called out loudly by everyone looking for her, but no one found any sign of Connie or where she'd ended up. Finally, she was reported as missing to the local authorities. The police and volunteers immediately launched their own search and investigation and conducted a more extensive search in the areas surrounding and within the camp itself, but they also found nothing at all. In the meantime, the police questioned the other campers, the counselors, and anyone else in and connected with the camp as part of their investigation. They even questioned motorists who had been passing by while they were conducting their investigation. Almost immediately, questioning people in the camp turned up some fairly sinister clues. Some of the campers said that Connie had only told the counselors she'd gotten injured and a bloody nose from playful roughhousing, but that was not the truth. They said she'd actually been bullied and beaten up and had gotten into a full-on fistfight with some of the other campers who had been bullying her all summer long up to that point. Other campers said that Connie hadn't been having the time of her life at all, and they said she'd been miserable and cried often that she just wanted to go home. Initially, these statements led some of the investigators to believe that she simply ran off, not wanting to deal with the camp or the circumstances she'd found herself in, but also not wanting to tell her parents and family what she'd really been going through while there. However, that thought was quickly dismissed because she left behind all of her money and all of her belongings. Connie's mother had visited her just 2 days before she disappeared, and when she was interviewed, she said her daughter had been in great spirits and gushed about how much fun she was having there at the camp. She even told her mother she wanted to stay longer than they'd initially arranged for her to stay, and there had been no indication at all that she was having any problems or issues at the camp. It seemed strange to her mother that she'd want to voluntarily run away when she'd just been so adamant about not coming home as planned and staying longer. Also, Connie knew, according to her mother, that she could leave at any time she wanted if she didn't like it there. Another ominous clue came from a trucker who said he'd seen a young girl matching Connie's description get into a vehicle on Route 44 near Belgo Road near the camp at about 8:45 in the morning on the day she vanished. Obviously, this led the police to thinking she'd been napkid. I can't say the real word. While all of this was going on, a massive search was being conducted all over the camp and surrounding woodlands, and flyers were being distributed all over the country. Sightings of Connie were being reported from all over the place, but none of them were ever able to be confirmed, so as usual, I won't be going through them all here with you today. It wouldn't be until April of 1953, so almost an entire year later, that the authorities would get their first real lead in this case. This lead started with a traveling jewelry salesman by the name of Frederick Pope, who had gone to the police in Ohio and told them he knew exactly what had happened to young Connie. He said that he and his partner, a man named Jack Walker, along with a woman named Wilma Sames, had seen Connie hitchhiking on Route 44 and had picked her up. They'd promised to take her as far as Wyoming, claiming the young girl had been trying to make it home. Frederick then told an insane story about how Jack Walker had attacked all of them once they made it into Arizona, and that in the madness, he'd also killed Connie. He said once he'd seen what Jack had done to the little girl, he'd then killed Jack with a tire iron in an act of self-defense, and because he was horrified that this man had just murdered a child. However, no one by the name of Jack Walker or Wilma Sames were ever able to be found. No evidence of any of this was ever turned up. No bodies were ever found. And later on, Fred Pope would admit that the whole story was just a sick, twisted, and demented hoax. He'd made it up because he was bored and wanted to be involved in something. Strangely enough, as the authorities conducted the investigation into Pope's statements, they did find the skeletal remains of a young girl who seemingly was about Connie's age at Skinner Ridge in Grand Canyon National Park in 1958, but it wasn't Connie, and those remains have actually never been identified to this day. The remains are nicknamed Little Miss X, and whoever she was and whatever happened to her is just as much a mystery as what happened to Connie Smith. In later years, there would be other leads and even a couple of suspects in Connie's disappearance, but nothing ever came out of any of it. One of these was a convicted serial killer of young girls who was awaiting execution for the brutal murder of 2 young girls in 1957 named George Davies. He came forward and admitted to killing Connie Smith as well, but nothing he ever told the police was able to be corroborated, and I won't bore you all with all of the details of this psychopath's false statements, only to say that he eventually admitted, just like our boy Freddie Pope, that he was merely bored and had heard about the case and thought he would amuse himself by by making the police waste their time, and by tormenting this girl's poor family, yet again, thinking she was dead, but that at least they had some answers, only to feel the crushing blow of disappointment and heartache when he recanted and nothing ever came out of anything he admitted to. George Davies was executed shortly after this whole ordeal, so even if he did have anything to do with Connie's disappearance, which is highly unlikely, he took everything he knew to the grave with him, where it will forever remain. I want to talk about one more semi-promising suspect in this case before we end. His name was William Henry Redmond, and he was charged in 1988 with strangling a young girl to death in Pennsylvania a year before Connie disappeared. He was also thought to have been in the area of the camp at the same time Connie disappeared from it. However, the police were never able to prove his whereabouts, and he died in prison for the aforementioned murder charge in 1992, leaving anything they could have learned about him and his possible connection to Connie's disappearance forever a mystery. There were never any more suspects named or found, but sightings of Connie alive and well have been consistently reported from all over the country ever since basically she disappeared. There was even a young woman who had come forward claiming to be Connie Smith, but of course DNA tests refuted this fact, and as most of you already know, I don't put much stock, if any, into unconfirmed sightings. Connie, in my opinion, is deceased and has been pretty much since she disappeared. Her family continued to relentlessly pursue clues and leads in this case, but her parents would die tragically, each of them without ever finding out what happened to their beloved daughter, even though, according to my beliefs, they now know and are at peace. Connie's brother, Nels J. Smith, would carry on the family's fight for answers and for justice, but to this day, he's also been unsuccessful, and nothing new has ever come up. This case is still open, though, and the lead investigator currently is a man named Detective Michael Downs. He said of it all, quote, "There were some leads that were dead ends. My thoughts are that it's a good case. It all happened so long ago. In 1952, things were done differently, and technology was very old school. If you think back to childhood, one could walk anywhere. Times change. A 10-year-old walking down an old dirt road crying would be remarkable today. Back then, it was nothing. No one knows what actually occurred. It's been 66 years, and no one has found her. With the internet and technology, you would think something would have come up, but no. If a child were missing today, that child would be found. With this case, there is hope for the family's sake. I tend to be hopelessly optimistic that something will come." End quote. That's all I have for you today, guys. Please give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed the content. If you enjoyed watching this video, spending time with one another, spread the love by sharing this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure your notification bell is clicked to on. I know one of my videos, I think it was 2 weeks ago, you lost audio right at the end of the story, and you didn't get to hear anything that I had to say, which is crazy because it was kind of an important message at the end. So what I want to talk to you guys about first, and I will make this short and sweet, is the hype feature. I am a small creator. When you go to comment on my videos, you should get the option to hype this small creator. Please hype me as much as you can. It really helps push my content out to a much larger audience, okay? I didn't even know about this feature. Thank you, Casey, for letting me know. And I just started to see it on the smaller creators that I watch, and I've been hyping them like crazy. I don't know exactly what it does, but it definitely puts my videos, whatever you're hyping, out into the algorithm so many more times than just normal liking and sharing out of the video. Also, I want to briefly say, I know that my other social media platforms are covering things besides the paranormal, and some of you aren't on board with that. That's fine. While I am bringing some of that over to the YouTube shorts to try to be funny and to try to make you guys laugh like I always do and to get content for this channel is remaining a paranormal channel. I will be doing one video a week. I haven't decided if it's going to be Tuesdays or Wednesdays. I kind of have trouble remembering the upload for Tuesday, to be honest. That's why they've been so sporadic, but they will still be there every single week. A paranormal case, UFOs, all the stuff we've talked about for the last 5 years. That's right, I've been here 5 years on this channel. So please don't abandon me. Don't give up on me. We will be doing a Friday night stream. By the time you watch this, we'll have done at least one. It is not Oracle, and I will talk to you guys why I've decided to stop doing Oracle in the live stream and free and publicly just for now. I just needed to take a step back, but I'll explain more in the live stream. Anyway, check out the description box for some important links, ways to donate to the channel so I can get paid. PayPal, Cash App, my Amazon wish list gift link. Also in the description box, you will find links for all 14 of my books, Kindle, paperback and Audible versions. If you want to make your life simpler and you're looking for a specific book or just looking for my collection of books, go to Amazon, type in Gemma Jade Books. Email me for any and all correspondence if you want to send in your own paranormal, supernatural, extraterrestrial, otherworldly stories. If you want to purchase, I have my Halloween scents. So I am making sprays, oil rollers, and car fresheners just for the Halloween season through to, I would say, October 20th. Because, you know, I have to mail them out. If you want information on pricing and all of that stuff, for any and all correspondence, if you want to get a personal intuitive oracle reading from me privately through video chat or just remotely, all of that stuff, GemmaJadeParanormal@gmail.com. Please consider joining me on TikTok and Instagram. Instagram is really just everything I post on TikTok, just on another platform. TikTok is really where I'm trying to be monetized. Also, I'm selling the cotton candy flavored liquid IV hydration multiplier through my TikTok shop. So if that's something you're interested in, you can at least go over there. I'll try to leave the link in the description box as well and order some of that through me, through my affiliate link. That would be really helpful. Don't forget Dubby Energy Drink. I've done several short videos if you want to go back and look on that. I was thinking of running ads. I'm not sure, but you get 10% off site-wide. It's the alternative energy drink. No jitters, no crash outs, and none of that stuff that's like super duper bad for you. It has vitamins, minerals. It's made from coffee fruit extract, not all of the caffeine. I love it. One Dubby shaker, about 20 ounces a day, and I am good to go. And it also gives me mental focus. So please check out that site. It's the first thing you'll see in the description box, besides maybe the liquid IV hydration multiplier. Just look at what you're clicking on, guys. Really, you can support me in that way and get something cool for yourself. That's 10% off site-wide at Dubby.com with my code GEMSTONES, all lowercase, GEMSTONES. I don't want to hold you guys up any longer than I already have. Be kind to each other, guys. It doesn't cost anything. Be kind to yourselves and never accept anything less than others being kind to you, because you deserve at least that much and so much more. I believe in you. I got your back. Always go in grace, smile at a stranger, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.